Hello, and welcome to another episode of the AI Edge podcast. We are here to help folks in the marketing and advertising industry keep up with all of the latest developments in AI and what it means for our space. We are here again this week with another awesome guest. We have Jamie from Klaviyo with us. Jamie, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for having me. My name's Jamie Domenici, hard last name, so I'll say it. And I'm the CMO over at Klaviyo.
Awesome. And I need to know, I need the 10-second Klaviyo elevator pitch for our listeners and for me.
your listeners, of course. So at Klaviyo, we're a B2C CRM. So we really help B2C companies connect with their customers across every channel, across every medium, and help them grow their business.
Awesome. Well, we're thrilled to have you, Jamie. Thanks for joining us. We also have another special guest. Actually, he's not so special. His name's Myles. Hey, Myles. What's up?
Myles is special.
Am I not special, or is my guest status not special?
No, it's not special. It's not special.
This is Jamie. Thank you for joining us, and I love the we're a B2C CRM. That's great. Single sentence. We get it.
Yep, direct and to the point.
Also, combining two acronyms that everyone generally knows.
Yeah, right?
It's not like two weirdo acronyms that no one's ever heard of.
No, they go together. B2C and CRM. We did that.
B2C CRM. Okay, so let's jump into top news of the week. So I want to kick this week's episode off with, there's been a lot of buzz in the last week about first of all, I had no clue what was going on. All of a sudden, my social feed started filling up with this word called Kimi. And I was like, are we talking about Kimi Gibbler from Full House? What is Kimi? I don't even know what Kimi is. And then I had to go and look it up. And apparently there's a new Chinese AI model that has taken the world by storm, called Kimi K3. It's a new model by a startup Chinese company, which is funded by Alibaba. And the company is called Moonshot. And the big hoopla around Kimi is, that it's basically at the same level of performance as some of the frontier models from Anthropic and ChatGPT. And it's half the cost, right? That's the big headline, right? It's way cheaper. And as we know, over the last few months, the whole AI conversation has shifted from these AI models can do all these things, from how much do these AI models cost, right? How many tokens am I burning? And so this became big news over the past week. There was a couple of other things that kind of popped up adjacent to this news. So one is Google launched 3 new Gemini models. So, in some shape or some order, one is called Gemini 3.6 Flash, another one's called 3.5 Flash Lite, and another one is called 3.5 Flash Cyber. Ask me what the difference is between any of them. I couldn't tell you. One is faster, one is better at coding, one is whatever. But at the end of the day, I found the news to be interesting because they are starting to release models that are more so specialists for certain things, as opposed to just use the latest model to do everything, right? And I think we've been seeing that more and more over the last year where, they'll say just toggle the switch in your AI if you want to achieve X or if you want to achieve Y. But I think that's been a little bit more meant for power users. And now they're I think trying to make that concept more mainstream. And so anyways, there was a bunch of other news, apparently OpenAI got hacked. Or they hacked themselves and they went into some software thing called Hugging Face to steal some secrets. This AI stuff's just off the rails. It's crazy. It's just I can't keep up. But anyways, just kind of thinking about the tokenization of AI and how that has become kind of the commodity that everyone's thinking more about. Thinking about how these Chinese open source models are blowing up again. And this happened with DeepSeek a year ago. Any thoughts on this and initial reactions to this, Jamie?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think that the market, we're seeing some new players enter and it's going to become a different competition, which I think is actually good. I think it's never good when you just have 1 or 2 players. Now I think it's commoditizing a little bit. And around the fact that it's in China, I think it's interesting. I think if, this is where your legal team has to come into play and, your engineering and make sure you're taking the right steps to protect your data. I think that's the most important. And the marketer in me, though, is thinking, all right, well, if we use a outsourced model, or if any one of our customers are using an outsourced model, you need to protect your data, And so I start going into a comms mode where I think, well, what happens if something is shared? So I would say the CMO has to be ready to ensure that you're communicating about how your data is used, where it's used, how you're getting information. But I also think these models are kind of exciting because I think they are going to bring down some of the costs as we start looking about how you're fueling AI, which everyone is looking at, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like if you're a marketer and you're like, deep into it, you're building agents, you're using different platforms, and now all of a sudden you're starting to look at your AI bills. I think
Oh, yeah.
now more than ever, it's like, okay, well, there probably needs to be some process and scrutiny all the time, right? Around like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
well, what's the latest model? Am I using the right model for the right agents, right? So it's not just
Sure.
about like the cheapest company. It's like, oh, now we have specialized models that are better for different things. Am I using the right models for the right kind of workflows, right?
Yeah, you actually need permissions for models. So I think everybody ran out and deployed every piece of technology that you could, which was great. And I was like, build every agent, do everything. But now, it's not that we're pulling back. I don't want to change that behavior. But yeah, engineers, they probably need a stronger model than the marketer to build copy or some of the creative, right? So I think more and more companies are having to be a little bit more cost conscious and then a little bit more strategic about how and what they're deploying, which is good. But I think some companies are kind of backpedaling at this moment.
I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for a return to the 90s when we get the CPU under somebody's desk that says do not unplug, and that's where all the AI models are running. Because like we couldn't afford to keep sending it out to the cloud. We just had
Yeah.
to buy our own GPUs. Do not unplug, please. The whole
Yeah.
company runs on this box.
Right? I love this podcast. We talk about Kimi Gibbler, CPU,
Yes.
throwback. It's great.
Yes. Hey, Myles, do you have any initial reactions to the Chinese models and the specialization of these models?
Mine is one of there's an interesting. It's almost kind of like a maybe three-way market positioning sort of battle going on right now. One is, say, ultra cheap overseas AI is one, where like that's the value prop is like this is cheap. Like, yeah, it's overseas, but it's cheap. The other one is sort of what everybody has gravitated towards to date, which has been the perhaps overpowered models that are like extremely expensive. Performance just keeps going up and up and up, and eventually we're going to reach AGI and blah 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 blah. These really really high powered, largely domestic models, Anthropic, Google, etc., OpenAI, and then but the third one is where Google is investing, into these lightweight specialized models. So I'm like, well, Google has to. They have like billions of global users. Them and Meta have to find a way to make it cost effective. Like they have to. They literally, it will not work for them. And so what's interesting is that there's a little bit of kind of like a rug pull going on from the hyper sophisticated models of like, well, they spent years convincing the marketplace that what you needed was more power, more power, more power. Then the bills come due and everybody's like, we'll start you looking at alternatives. So I think we'll see some interesting kind of marketing. I don't want to call it backpedaling, but like adjustments made by Anthropic, OpenAI to be like, no, it's cool. Like you can be cost effective with our platform too. We also, offer products that are cost effective and downplaying kind of the sheer power aspect of it as the value prop.
Oh, I hope not. If we do that, I mean, if I was in that seat, I would not move away from, I would not move to market on price if I was Anthropic in particular. I feel like they have a power move. They should, I know
Well,
that's not what you're saying. They're
it,
going to have alternative options, some tiering and such, but
well, it's an interesting question. It's like where do you go? Where do they go?
yeah.
Shiv, I think you kind of called it out, like specialization. Like do you really need to like fly your kids to school in a helicopter every day, or can you just take a Honda Civic? Like
Yeah.
if that is the job that is required.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
no. You go ahead. Exciting. Very exciting.
No, I was just, we'll go pop culture for a second. LeBron James is going to the Philadelphia 76ers. And,
Not the Golden State Warriors. I'm in
not the
San
Golden State
Francisco.
Warriors.
I was
I
dumb.
am too, Jamie.
Okay.
Jamie, I am too. So I was hoping for that outcome.
I was holding out hope.
Well, it's funny. I'm tying it back to AI. Trust me, I'm getting there. I'm going there. So, the whole like thing was, he's like, why would anybody move when they're 42 years old and have $1 billion from LA to Philadelphia? He must really love basketball. Like, what are you doing, LeBron? And everyone was like, oh, well, you know what he's going to do? He's going to live in New York. He's always wanted to live in New York, and he'll just take his helicopter from New York to Philadelphia. But he doesn't need to take a helicopter. Like Myles said, he can drive the Honda Civic down the 95 corridor and just go New York to Philly. It's like,
and Shiv, you just lost us our entire Philly listenership here. Like,
sorry, Philly.
all
Sorry,
of our
Philly
like
fans.
100,000 listeners we have in Philly, they're gone now.
Wait, I'm gonna one up and make it worse. I'm actually cheering for Philly this year. Go Philly, go Sixers, because I hate the Knicks. So now I just abandoned all of our New York listenership.
Yikes.
Sorry, New York City. Okay. Let's keep moving. Next story. So this one is awesome. I'm going to talk about it because it's so awesome at the risk of just overdoing the whole AI voice thing. Because on our last episode, we spent a lot of time with Sam Bloom, who's head of partnerships at PMG. We talked a lot about how like AI voice is going to be a huge unlock for the AI space and for consumer devices. And we just got to like figure out how to get it right. A couple of weeks ago, OpenAI had released their new, I think it was called like GPT Live, new voice model, which can actually like talk to you in a more natural way without like interrupting you and stuff all the time. And then last week, there was a rumor that OpenAI is working on the new device. I feel like everyone's known this has been coming for a while now, especially when they paid like some billion of dollars for Jony Ive's, non-existent company. And so now there's a rumor that the device is coming soon. Apparently, so we have no real details, but the reporting is that the device will have no screen. It'll have sensors, like motion sensors. It'll have a camera. It'll have a microphone and speakers, but no screen. And apparently the device will be able to move. So for those people that are listening, I'm doing quotations because I don't know what that means. But anyways, again, I think this has been coming for a while now. I think we had some fits and starts with devices like the Humana pin. If you remember that was a huge bomb. But that was the same idea. It's like, oh, have something on your person that you can talk to, that can be in your ear, that could be a personal assistant for you, tap into all of your files and your drive and your calendar and this and that, and kind of just like be with you all the time. So anyways, I think voice is just going to be this massive unlock for, again, consumers. But then ultimately, if it's an unlock for consumers, it's going to be a massive unlock for marketing, hopefully. So, Myles, let's start with you on this one. Any quick reactions to the reported OpenAI device?
Does anybody else picture the little box on a roller skate that's going around the Death Star in Star Wars as being the device? That's what I'm picturing here. No, literally, then you said like that it moves, and you used air quotes, and it was like, well, actually, yeah, movement could mean multiple different things. Maybe it'll be something different. That's interesting. My main reaction is I'm very intrigued that it's not going to have a screen. I think, especially with consumer AI, I would actually be more worried if it did have a screen. So I'm like, if you can't talk to it the way you could talk to a human being who you're asking to help you with something or perform a task, if I can't just talk to you, then it's not perhaps particularly useful. So I really like that it doesn't have a screen. But Jamie, I have a question for you. Maybe if you can give your reaction to this, and I would love to know kind of from Klaviyo's perspective, like Klaviyo, I would expect kind of both sort of in terms of leading and trailing indicators, like you see a lot of the traffic of consumer interactions. And so, like SMS and email, voice, whatever it might be, app, push notifications, all that kind of stuff. How's voice trending in Klaviyo world?
Yeah, I don't think voice has really I don't think it's really changed the market, the landscape that much yet. But this innovation is not the hardware itself, which I don't know if you went to a box in the Death Star. I was like thinking microchip, so I don't know. This is going to be interesting. But I think if you think about marketing, we've been optimized for screens. Email, TV, websites, apps, social ads, everything is a visual representation of our brand. So while I said like voice has come into play in some areas, but I think this could be really disruptive, right? And disruptive maybe in a good way, but I think marketers will have to adapt now to how they think about attracting via voice. Like
Hmm.
I think that'll be a new medium. So I think it's interesting. I think it'll be different. I don't think we've seen it yet. But at Klaviyo too, I think there's gonna be many more, many more mediums. And so even with the introduction of LLMs, like that totally changed the way that you market, how retailers in particular, like agentic commerce, definitely shifted some of the playbook. So I'm just thinking it's another channel. I'm gonna have to adapt, but I need to capture that information and figure out how I bring it back in to understand the buyer and what's going on with them. So
Yeah, and I think obviously the consumer shift needs to happen before the marketing shift, right? And
yeah,
like I think about this from the consumer lens, and I don't think we've ever quite figured out the right kind of the voice device yet. Like I
Yeah.
think we've
yeah,
and it all kind of over intersects, right, with like AR and VR and the glasses
yeah,
and like the
right.
Humana pin and Miles, it's funny when you think of the Star Wars thing, my brain always goes to the movie Her and
Oh, yeah, that was a creepy
the
one.
that's a creepy one. Sorry for getting creepy, I guess.
So the
but like,
movie was creepy. You're not creepy.
thank you,
Well,
thanks, Jamie.
wait. Actually, I have a pointless anecdote to add to that. To what I didn't see her, so hopefully
Okay.
this
Well, now you have
uh,
to.
Great
I
movie.
this build is at least in the ballpark. Is I spent the weekend, Jamie. I just got back from a little bit of a road trip. I spent the weekend with some older in-laws,
Hmm.
and the topic of hearing aids came up, and the topic of like hearing aids today, I guess, are like Bluetooth enabled. And I was like, well, of course they would be, I guess. Now that I'm thinking about it, why wouldn't they be? And then I'm like, oh man, that means like not only might AI just be like an earbud or glasses or something, it's literally implanted in
Yes.
your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Microchip.
Like I mean,
Microchip.
there's. Sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
No, I really wonder if that's where they're going to go. I mean, kind of the Jetsons, right? Like this
Yeah.
becomes part of your being, which is scary but exciting
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, the AirPod is kind of an on ramp to that, right? Like
Yeah.
I have a 15-year-old nephew,
Hmm.
and we'll always be, wherever we're hanging out, holidays or whatever, we'll just be hanging out. I'll be talking to him, and he's got the thing in his ear. He's
Yeah.
always got the
Oh
thing in
yeah.
his
The
ear.
kids with they never take the headphones off. They
I'm
like
like,
never
dude, like,
do.
are you listening to something while you're talking to me? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and sometimes he is. He's like, oh yeah, I got some music playing or something. I'm like,
All the
that's really
time.
weird. It's
Yeah.
really weird.
That's how my children, I have two teenagers. That's how they do their homework, which I really don't understand. Like, wait a minute, like what's going on in there? You know?
Um,
Um, but have you
yeah.
used the voice? Because I actually think the voice part
Oh
of
yeah.
OpenAI has I love it. That's my commute now. I'm talking to my ChatGPT. She has a British voice. It's quite lovely.
Nice.
But I find it to be game changer how I'm interacting with the technology, and I can always be on. So it's kind of interesting. So the idea of a device makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
But you've mentioned a couple that have had some failed attempts, right? So I also wonder for OpenAI, like this is a new diversification of resources internally. So I'd be interested to see how they invest and if they continue to invest to drive a change, right?
Oh, that's a whole other podcast episode of
I know,
how
sorry. I
thinly
just
can
had to
OpenAI spread
say it.
itself.
I just had to say it. Like I'm watching, and it's exciting, but we've seen this movie before, so
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason one of the big reasons voice hasn't taken off first is because the voice technology was not good enough. Now,
Yeah.
to your point, Jamie, the voice technology is good enough. It's really damn good. And so the next thing that needs to happen is like, well, the consumers have to understand the use cases for it. There have to be some killer use cases, and like the form of it has to be conducive to consumers being able to use it. And like I think putting voice on a screen. So right now we have ChatGPT on a screen. It lives in a browser or it lives in an app. And I think the problem with that is users are programmed to type on those
Yeah.
devices. They're not programmed to talk to those devices because, I mean, and even they actually have PTSD from talking to those devices because Siri and Alexa were so bad. And
yeah,
so they're like, I'm not talking to this thing. Like, but then if we have a new type of device that literally has no screen where you can't type, and if it has a few killer use cases, I think that's where like you might start seeing that consumer shift happening. And that's where maybe there's an opportunity for it to take off. Right. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Great. And now you're
Um,
a 15-year-old, and my kids are going to be walking around talking to themselves if this does. So I don't know if
great,
that's
Wonderful.
better or worse.
great, great. This is a future we're all very excited about.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into quick hits of the week. So, Jamie, I'm going to go through these pretty fast. If you have commentary or something to add, please jump in. If not, we'll just keep rolling. So, first one. Google Images is doing a big revamp. I thought this was cool. I haven't like seen it hit my Google Images per se yet. I'm guessing it will soon, but it kind of feels like they're taking Google Images towards like a Pinterest direction,
Yeah.
where they're going to have like a discovery kind of angle of it. They're going to have like a feed. You're going to be able to save or like pin essentially like different types of images. You're also going to be able to create, right, imagery, and then save that imagery. And it's going to be more personalized. It's all going to be about like personalization and discovery. I thought this was really cool. Also, you're going to be able to now create imagery using Nano Banana, like the Google image model in AI mode, just natively in like Google search. So I think this is a cool direction. Again, I have yet to see it play out. But I thought this was interesting to highlight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. One thing I'll
Yep.
say, it's going to be interesting for B2C companies because if it's Pinterest-like, you own the algorithm, but can and will that influence shopping behavior? So how will recommendations externally start filtering in there? I don't think they're there yet, but that's where my mind went, was like, oh, product recommendations. Here we go. How can I influence that? So I was thinking about that from the brand side. As a consumer, I think it's awesome. I love
But
Google Images.
Jamie, I'm curious to just hear more about like what you're imagining. You're imagining Google surfacing more product recommendations in images results?
Well, I
Or
think that they're going to be building out more personalized recommendations to you, right? So
yeah,
to your interests based on your behaviors.
yeah.
But if I'm typing in yellow dress, right, it's
Hmm.
going to show me yellow dresses based on my search history. But my mind, again, I'm always thinking about my customers here.
Hmm.
I was thinking about how could I influence that algorithm to put my yellow dress closer to the front.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, to what extent is Klaviyo sort of bumping up against perhaps this need? Well, it's really speaks to like the multimodality of
Yes,
whatever digital
another
marketing and
channel, another
yeah,
place.
is like images, video, sound. A lot of stuff was text up until several years ago was largely text based.
Right.
So, like, is that changing Klaviyo's world right now?
It's changing our world in this fact that there's just more places
Yeah,
to interact with your customer, right? So
yeah,
I think text, email, on-site, in-store, LLMs. So while images, everybody spent millions of dollars optimizing SEO for your Google
yeah,
rankings, right? But like I've
yeah,
never thought about optimizing for my image search. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm going is.
yeah, yeah,
Um, it would be another place for Klaviyo to capture information, but it could be another buying signal that we haven't
yep,
really been using. So that's kind of where I was thinking, oh,
oh
are they
yeah,
going to go same way as search?
yeah,
And
yeah. No, I mean,
it's optimized for in a different way.
yeah, I could totally see Google kind of turning this into, well, perhaps what Pinterest has certainly always aspired to be is kind of a mood board for consumer intent. But obviously, Google has a much more closed loop system to make that happen
Yeah.
versus a Pinterest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like doesn't at some point won't Google Shopping kind of intersect with
Yeah.
Google Images in
Yeah.
that way?
Think
Right?
you would
Yeah,
think. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we'll see. That's my prediction. You heard it
I
here
mean,
first.
that might be annoying. Like, I'm just thinking about how I use Google Images,
Yes.
and I'm like going to look for memes and stuff, or like
Yeah.
going to like find a silly image to drop in an email to my friends. And so all of a sudden, if I start getting product recommendations in there, I might be annoyed. But yeah, who knows? You
I
better
don't know.
believe Google wants to monetize the hell out of every surface they have. So,
Possibly.
okay. Okay, next quick hit of the week. So, kind of a small one, but I think this is important and, something to talk about. So ChatGPT now, they've been evolving their ad product over the last 4, 5, 6 months, and they just added a capability where you can upload your client list, just an Excel file of all the emails, apparently without a clean room or any sort of like data collaboration platform. Just upload your list into
Well,
ChatGPT.
well,
They'll do a
Terry,
data match. And then you can target your users on ChatGPT. So the very simple use case is retargeting. Okay, well, I have, 100,000 people that have gone to my site, that have set up an account, maybe bought some products, and now all of a sudden I can retarget them on ChatGPT, which, again, it's like, it feels like a small, simple thing. And it is for the most part. Like, you can do this with any major ad platform today. But I think it's interesting because of the AI experience, right? Like the fact that people are not like doom scrolling on AI like they do on Meta, where it's like, yeah, if I retarget somebody on Meta, that's really, really valuable, right? Or on Instagram, like that's extremely valuable. I could bring them back. They could then purchase. Great. Everybody wins. But in AI, like there's all this context history about the user, the discovery and like the funnel kind of collapses in AI. So what does that mean from like a first party data targeting perspective? I find it somewhat interesting to think about and go down that rabbit hole. Any thoughts on that?
One, I think it's always scary to give away your first party data. So I'm like double, triple check that,
For
Um,
sure.
but I mean, clearly, and we were early adopters at Klaviyo of advertising in ChatGPT. So I've kind of been, have my toe in the water there. And
Yeah.
clearly it makes sense. Very competitive with Meta. I don't think they're there yet, but I understand the path that they're on. And if I think about it for my customers, again, retail, agentic commerce, like you want the ability to
Yeah.
connect and find those relationships. So, um, interesting, but man, I hate giving away my first party data. So I'm cautiously optimistic, maybe is how I would say it.
Well, so I played out like a scenario in my head a little bit, Jamie, where I was like, okay, how is this different from like just retargeting on Meta, right? And so the little example I came up with was like, if I'm like looking around for shoes, I go to a sneaker site, I drop some shoes in my shopping cart, and then I kind of forget about it. Or I'm not sure I want to buy them in that moment, and I move on, right? 2-3 weeks go by, and then like I'm on ChatGPT, let's say a few weeks later, and I'm like doing some research about a trip I'm about to go on. And, people tend to buy things before they go on trips, right? Oh, I want new shoes. I want to look nice. I want to buy new apparel. I want to look nice, whatever on my trip. That to me is like a really interesting moment to surface like that shoe ad again.
Yes.
And like Google and Meta would just never have, I mean, obviously Google would through Gemini now. So let's put Google aside, but like Meta wouldn't have that kind of signal, right? It would just be like blunt retargeting. And so I just find like the idea of like context
Yeah.
within ChatGPT and like how context can be used alongside data, right?
Yeah.
To surface ads at better times or surface different types of creative or like all the other different variables you have to pull with ads. Anyways, that's kind of where I was going with it.
But for me, and I'm totally biased because at Klaviyo we believe that you should be able to look in Meta, you should look on your website, you're going to look in the LLM. How do you capture all those signals so that you can be ready? Well, because so that you can know your buyer and then you can be ready to offer when they're ready. So I'm
Totally.
coming from the place of like, okay, more is more. Surfaces are good, signals are good. The way people
Yeah.
buy and the way people search, the way people learn is changing. And so I think I always am advising our customers, you got to capture all that. And that's the most important thing. So having integrations with LLMs, with, shop commerce agents, wherever they are, like this is becoming more complex, I think. It's
Yeah.
not as one and done. And that's why, yes, I'm advertising in ChatGPT and Meta and more and more places.
Okay. I love that. Okay. Last quick hit of the week. So, Meta has tons and tons of AI tools for marketers, including like creative generation tools, video generation tools, optimizers, performance plus, what is it? Advantage Plus is their thing. So apparently Meta's AI tools have been bungling a lot of the marketing campaigns in different ways. So like the one big example that kept coming out was the bike with two handlebars. So it's got handlebars in the front, it's got handlebars in the back. And apparently Meta's like, well, sorry, it's on you guys. Like I'm Mark Zuckerberg. Screw you. So that's going on. And obviously that's like a huge pitfall of anything AI that you do. Human in the loop is really, really important. But yeah, that's a thing that's happening at Meta and I'm sure like that's happening everywhere. So with that, I want to transition, Jamie, into your work at Klaviyo and what you guys are doing and what you're seeing. So, I did a little bit of my research, a little bit of my homework. Like, I think it's fascinating to see the journey of marketing automation and how it's gone like pre-AI to post-AI, right? And you guys, I think, are leading the pack in this respect in a lot of different ways of okay, pre-AI, it was very rules-based, right? So it's rules-based marketing automation. Hey, we're going to set some rules, triggers, things like that. But it was all very deterministic for all intents and purposes. And now post-AI, now you can kind of build agents in these platforms that can access the data, access all the different channels and be more probabilistic, right? And be a little bit more autonomous and make smart decisions based on, maybe some triggers, but the triggers can be way more vast, right? There can be all sorts of different permutations of triggers, or they don't have to be triggers at all. And so anyways, I would love to hear kind of your strategy, as it pertains to AI, how you have seen that shift with Klaviyo specifically, and then we could kind of evolve the conversation from there.
Well, I mean, I think it's an exciting time. You said autonomous. I love that because we're the B2C CRM, but we see the world in the future will be autonomous. So there will be a time when agents and everything's running our world. We're not there yet, clearly. Exactly why you need a human in the loop to make sure you don't have two handlebars, all that good stuff. Yay, I still have a job. But, I think about at Klaviyo, this isn't new, but, we've been focusing on sort of that personalization down to the individual consumer for a long, long time. But things like send time optimization, back to triggers, which is built into our platform where you could just click a button and now it will look at your user's behavior, when they like to open an email, when they like to read a text, and it will optimize your send for you. If you go back in time 10 years ago, come on, that was such a nightmare. I was sending emails to APAC in the, middle of the night because it was just all you could do. And so I think the future of being autonomous is where we're going. However, I think there's these obvious steps that are already available, whether it's send time optimization or A/B testing, auto testing headlines for you. And now, we just launched our own agent, which is actually building emails for you just based on your website, just based on your looking at your, your kind of public facing information. We can build an email. We can use Nano Banana. You can remix your image. I don't know. I think there's just a lot at your disposal today that allows marketers to be way more strategic about driving that personalized message, which is kind of our end goal, right? Always.
Yeah.
Jamie, to Shiv's points or this whatever news about some of Meta's AI tools going wrong, AI tools go wrong wherever. What's Klaviyo's evolving approach to guardrails? I mean, Klaviyo clearly operates at massive volume, across clients, their clients. I imagine you have hundreds and hundreds of millions of individuals kind of who are communications being transacted all the time. So how are guardrails shaping up?
We have 200,000 customers, 8 billion messages a day. So we got a lot going on. Yeah. We got a couple things going on.
Yeah.
So guardrails are, especially for the marketer, brand guardrails are the most important thing. So I think that we have two agents. One's external customer facing and one's internal, more productivity around campaign creation. And having the right brand guardrails is so important. So that's built in both. And then two, we think a lot about how you train the agent. So for our external agent, Naked Wardrobe, they use our customer agent and the agent is acting on behalf of them. It's an extension of their brand, whether they're asking to return something or, making a product recommendation. It has to be in your tone, in your voice. So we've invested a lot in the agent training, the agent skills, and then the ability to control your brand guidelines and that's all built in default from day one. So I think that's another place where people get it wrong. They're get an agent, they turn it on, they let it rip, and then it does crazy stuff. Well, no, you got to train it. You got to really put the time in up front. So we've invested a lot in that sort of front end onboarding experience of the agent to really train it up.
Yeah. Cool.
Jamie, so I want to play off that a little bit. So, you're a marketer. You mentioned you have empathy for the marketer keeping their job, right?
Yeah.
And we want everybody to still have jobs. And so, as you guys, as Klaviyo push more towards AI, more towards agentifying things, you're making things easier. You're making them more autonomous for marketers. Obviously, the work that people do will change, right?
Yes.
And some work will get reduced, some work will get reallocated, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm interested to hear your perspective on is like, let's just talk about current state, like the current state of your platform today. Where do humans still have like the most impact in working within an environment like Klaviyo, versus like humans that are using it maybe and not like where are the marketers kind of creating the differentiation just within the context of like Klaviyo? That's it's something I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on.
There's still so many of our, as I mentioned, 200,000 customers. A lot of them are still trying to figure out AI, period. Like, okay, I got a lot going on. AI sounds cool and all, but like I got to sell this, dress today. So one, we've been really thinking about how do we embed AI into the workflow that they're already using. So something that I mentioned, like real-time personalization, that's in the where they work, right? In the day-to-day. So I think that's been really important to how we're thinking about it. And then two, I think I think people are less feared about their job being replaced, but their job changing. So in the spirit of Klaviyo, there used to be somebody who would wake up every day and they'd go build a campaign. They'd build the brief, they'd, add the images, they'd size the email. That job is no longer there because now you can come in, type a prompt and say, build my campaign, and it will build it for you. But I still need a person who can look at the objectives, help understand, like I said, train the agent and input what are the business challenges of today and work with the agent to get to the right conclusion. So there's still that interaction. And then I need someone to oversee it. I'll show you 2 emails, but like you decide which is right. And as you train the model, it's going to get better and better and smarter and smarter. But I think the companies who are embracing that, they're really freeing up, they're building more, they're building faster. They're personalizing a lot better than the competition. And then they're also freeing up more time, right? So that they can spend time in other places. And people say, oh, the brand's going to go, you're not going to need a brand team anymore. I'm like, oh, you're nuts. Brand is what's going to differentiate us, right? And yes, totally. I could do an LLM and they can give me pictures, probably with 2 handles, but that'll get better. Yeah. But the brand will still need somebody to build in that differentiation, right? And make some judgment calls. So I think what you do the day-to-day is shifting. The companies who are embracing it are going to move faster, and we're already seeing that. There's still some really key areas in marketing in general that are going to be really important to the future when things do become more autonomized.
Yeah, if your brand could be reduced to a prompt, maybe you didn't really have much of a brand to begin with. So I have a question, Jamie. You have Digital is of course a training company, and you were talking about how there's segments among your customers. I imagine there is a relatively like small but growing percentage of kind of innovators who are racing out ahead of the pack.
Yeah,
a bunch of people in the middle of the pack, maybe a few laggards who are like trying to catch up, and you certainly want them to catch up because you want them to get like the full value of the platform. And I don't know if customer education is like under your remit as CMO, but just would like be curious as to like where Klaviyo is right now with respect to up leveling your customers, given that like in the last couple of years the entire tool set is just being turned upside down and their job roles, to your point.
Well, and also, this is such a fun question. I'm glad you asked, because also like the idea of releases, like having 3 releases a year, that is gone. Like, those days are gone. So the way that we would product market, 5 years ago, oh my gosh, forget about it. And to your point, I think with things like OpenAI and Anthropic, now they're releasing a new model every day, right? So you have this, consumers have built a tolerance for change, I think, which is good.
Yeah.
And so now, right. So, but I've had to really adapt how we communicate with our customers. So what we hey, what was nutty? We used AI actually. So now we've actually built an entire end-to-end workflow starting from linear. So now when our engineers actually release a feature, we have a whole workflow that automates that update in product on the website, on our What's New page. It sends a Slack to our internal teams that need enablement, right? Wow. And also, because I'm a marketer, it creates a blog post and pushes it out into the world. So that's a place where AI, I feel like, has really unlocked our ability to help inform our customers with what's going on. Now, our customers still have to consume that. Getting like 12 bug releases, not that we have all that, but you know what I mean? If that's what's coming out that day, they
Yeah,
might
yeah,
not want all that. So now we're trying to build in the controls of what do you need to know and when do
yeah,
you need to know it. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting time. I would say the traditional release has been really disrupted.
yeah. That's really interesting because yeah, you spent time at Salesforce. I
Yeah,
was looking at yeah. So
yeah,
yes,
10 years.
your career goes back far enough that like yes, it has very much changed in the last couple of years in terms of pace.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was at Salesforce for a decade, and we had 3 releases a year, which was cool because you could plan for it. But I
Yeah,
also ran our adoption at scale. So that was when I first started thinking about how we're communicating post-sale changes to our customers.
yeah,
So, and it's come a long way. I mean, back then we were doing like nurture tracks, which those, those are fun. But now it's more about this like personalized communication, and trying to make something that's always on so that consumers can actually consume it. Otherwise, I mean, we
yeah,
have partners who are coming, we're innovating so fast, which is a great problem. But sometimes our partners, our customers, be like, wait, what happened? What is this? Where did this come from? I didn't know about this
yep,
because it's the speed of innovation, which is
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, no, like our mindset, a lot of it at U of Digital right now, because we've got our own version of that
Yeah.
being actively built out behind the scenes at U of Digital. We're not a software company, so it's a little bit different, but we're also working to streamline these things of like, well, drafting the blog post should no longer be the bottleneck. It's still an important thing, but like those things used to take weeks, sometimes months to draft those things is excruciating. We really can't afford to do that anymore. And then just automating or at least trying to streamline all of these touch points to get a prospect or a customer or a partner up to the point of like that interaction that can't be automated, like
Yeah.
a meeting or a webinar
Yes.
or podcast, something
Yes.
like that, where it's like, yeah, let's set aside all that excruciating stuff and really focus on that whatever last yard that really matters in terms of that customer interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that one-to-one or the human interactions are going to be more at a premium, which I'm
Yeah,
excited about. Like that's
right.
I'd rather talk to people, So
Yeah,
like automating some of that sort of um important work, right? But that scale work so that I
yeah,
can divert more resources to field marketing or brand marketing. Like I'm excited. I think that's going to be a positive shift.
yeah.
Well, Myles, you kind of stole my last question, which
Oh,
was
Oh, I'm sorry,
which
man.
was, no, it's great. I think you answered, I mean, the answer was awesome, right? Like I was going to ask you, Jamie, I know you're CMO for a B2C marketing company, but you are the CMO of a B2B
yeah,
company.
yeah.
It's like confusing and weird and meta in a weird way. But like, how is AI changing B2B marketing for you? But I think you gave like a great, that explanation that you just walked us through that. It's like, Myles, we got to go build what Jamie's building.
Oh yeah.
That's great. Let's go do that.
Game changer.
Okay. Jamie, we are about to wrap up. Any final kind of notes for the listeners on like what's coming at Klaviyo? Any final like big tips or tricks that you have for marketers around like, hey, it's, if you're thinking about AI stuff, like think about this first. Any parting thoughts for the listeners?
I think we hit on a lot of it, but I will just say I think the future is bright, and I think agents, our agent is a composer, which makes your job easier, turns you from building a campaign to building a prompt to build a campaign for you, which is great. And things like customer agent that can act on behalf of your brand, whether it's marketing or support, it should be one voice, which is our customer agent. So I think like AI should be an accelerator, and there's a lot of cool tooling already built for you where you work, how you work. So, that's where we're going. That's where we're investing, and I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for joining us. And actually, on that note, we have an AI accelerator coming up in September for marketers. It's our flagship bootcamp. We run it every few months. We've just opened enrollment for the September version of it. It's being sponsored by Bliss, which is a DSP owned by T-Mobile Ad Solutions. So really excited about that. Enroll if you haven't yet. Thanks again, Jamie. This was an awesome chat. I learned a ton. Thanks, Myles. As always, thanks to our listeners, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Thanks, Jamie.
Hello, me.